All right, guys, let's start recording. Melody, I'm glad to have you with us today.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm here.
All right, let's do this. Oh, God, Zach. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Let me just get
Chris,
that. Let me just
Chris,
get. Let
we
me.
had a set time here.
I'm sorry. Let me just answer this real quick. Hello. Uh huh. I see. Yes. Guys, it's a ghost.
Do they say what they want?
I don't know. Let me ask. How can I help you today, sir? Uh-huh. Brutally murdered. I see. How may I ask? Oh, violently. Okay, you can, that's enough details. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So he's brutally murdered. Wants us to help solve the crime. Uh can I ask who did this? Ethan Hawke? My God. I'm sorry, not now. I can't do this right now. We're recording a podcast. Beep. Okay, that was I hung up. We'll just have to deal with this later. I'm putting my phone on mute. Any ghosts that need their murder solved, we're gonna have to do it after the podcast, okay?
Okay. It'll be a tight squeeze, but I think I can fit that in.
I'm glad we all agree to this.
Yeah.
Solve ghost murders.
It's not the Solved Murders podcast. That's a different podcast.
Welcome to another Mishable podcast, Horror Decomposed. If you're just joining us for the very first time, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that. You can call us a horror podcast or a pop culture podcast. We kind of just like to examine kind of different aspects of pop culture, mainstream and obscure, kind of off-beaten path parts of pop culture through kind of the spear of the horror genre. So hopefully that makes sense. We look at old things and new things and in between things.
And there's no one named Casey on this podcast.
There is no one named Casey today. He unfortunately could not make it. But I have my good buddy Kris here, the Criterion one, the graduate, Kris Pistole.
Hello.
How's your weekend going, Kris?
I don't know what day it is. Wait, it's Monday. The weekend's over, Zach.
It's still a weekend day today because it's technically Independence Day, but let's not talk about Independence Day.
No.
But yeah, Casey is not here, but we have a very, very special guest that was very kind enough to fill in for us. Kris, do you want to introduce our guest today?
Yes, I don't know who this person is. She just wandered into our house.
You and Lydia's house?
my and my dog's house. No, this is my wife, Melody.
Hello.
Hello, Melody.
Today. I feel very honored to be on this podcast.
It's our honor, trust me. But thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited. I got to ask you, since this is a horror podcast, more or less, what's your relationship to the horror genre or horror movies, pop culture just in general?
My relationship to it. Well, how far back do you want me to go?
As far back as you want to,
Okay.
Melody.
I mean, I didn't really grow up watching much horror just because I don't know. I kind of got more into it in college years, maybe. So.
Yeah, your parents probably did not allow you to watch
Yeah,
horror
they did
movies
not.
growing up, except for Carrie.
Carrie.
It's the only one your mother has ever seen.
Yeah, apparently my mom's seen the movie Carrie like 13 times in theaters when she was younger.
Oh, gosh.
No, she said it was the only way she could see the lead actor in it because they didn't have like
The internet.
Yeah, the internet back then. My relationship to horror movies. I don't really know what to say. I mean, I like all kinds
like
of
them?
horror. Yeah, I like them. I mean, I don't really like super gory and like horror movies that are just about the evil. There's like no like finality to it. Like, it's just celebrating gore for the sake of gore. I like more, like, campy horror movies that are really funny. More whimsical horror, like Suspiria.
Yeah.
I like a Suspiria type of vibe is probably
Yeah, so
sure.
you like the vibe, and you also like the camp factor of some
Yes.
stuff. Like, I didn't really know this about you, but I feel like when we were dating and into our courtship, I was like, showing her movies you've never seen before, and I started showing you like Reanimator,
Yeah.
From Beyond, the Blob remake, like really campy, like funny, but
Yeah.
also really gory stuff. Like
Those are those are
has,
gory.
Like, well, I guess what you were talking about was like gory, like the Saw franchise, like
Yeah, I don't really
Stuff
like
that's, like,
stuff
really
like
mean.
that's just like
stuff that has like a
like
mean.
you
kinda
were
dark-
surprised that I had seen The Society when we started.
Yeah,
Society.
yeah. Chris has mentioned this story multiple times, and that's how he knew you were the one, Melody, because of Society.
That's
But
funny.
it's like when we were watching the Blob remake, you were like, I feel like this is my favorite type of movie.
It is, yeah. It's
Can't be
hilarious.
ridiculous.
Like that scene where it comes out of the sink or like sucks
Yeah.
him down in the sink. That's pretty funny.
Mhm,
Good
it
stuff.
is. It's great stuff.
We need more of the Blob in 2022.
Yes.
Time has
sure.
come for another remake.
But that's awesome. You were more than qualified to be a guest on this podcast. I mean, Chris is by far the like Siskel and Ebert of this show, and then Casey is like Joe Bob, and I'm just me. So,
Chris
You
plays
can be my Siskel to my
You
Ebert.
play both of them, Chris? Is that what you're saying?
No, Zach can be my Siskel to my Ebert.
Gotcha.
I give a thumbs up.
I am nowhere near Siskel, but I'll
You've been to the Playboy Mansion multiple times, right?
my mom used to actually like be
Oh.
a costuming assistant for like Playboy. So
Oh my god, I did not know that.
they did need a wardrobe department, yeah.
How ironic.
But I've never been. No. I don't think is it around still? I don't even know.
I don't even know. I
Playboy
mean,
is like
I'm
kind
sure
of
the mansion is still around, but yeah, Hugh Hefner is not alive anymore to enjoy it.
Awesome. Okay, well, we got some stuff to talk about today, guys. So, we got a
do?
movie and we got a TV show. So, what do you guys want to talk about first?
Ooh, we're doing both.
Yeah, we're
didn't
talking
tell
about,
me.
we're talking about Stranger Things. I thought I
Yeah,
told you.
Oh, no.
Oh no! Stop
No,
the podcast.
I'm excited. There's no reason to stop it.
Why don't we talk about Black Phone first, since it's more
Okay.
fresh,
Okay.
fresh in our memories?
Yes.
Sweet. All right. Then let's do it. This is our feature scare. Lydia's
You
excited.
didn't like that.
She is, yes.
All right, so I feel like I don't know. I feel like always with horror movies generally, like every year, it feels like the second half of the year is when all the heavy hitters start to come out. You'll get a couple things
yeah.
maybe like in February, but like now we're at the point like kind of midsummer when the good stuff starts to come out.
Well, that's just like movies in general. Like
yeah.
summer is when people want to start going to the movies, getting into fall, and then Christmas, and then January is just a dead time that no one likes to do anything.
Yeah, you get that kind of Sundance period in like spring,
That's
and
true,
then you get the summer blockbusters. But that's when a lot of like the heavier mainstream horror titles hit. And The Black Phone, directed by Scott Derrickson and co-written by Robert C. Cargill, who he's collaborated with on I think like everything that he's been done, mainly like Doctor Strange and Sinister and Exorcism of Emily Rose.
I think it's C. Robert Cargill.
Is it C. Robert
I think
Cargill?
so.
I'm sorry.
I only
I'm
say
sorry
this because-
I'm sorry, Robert.
I only say this because, his first name is actually Kris, I think. I only know this
that makes
because
sense.
this guy has been like
You
doing
are right, you are
podcasts
right.
for years. Like I listened to him back when he was on the Spill podcast.
Yeah.
Way back in like 2009, 2008 era. So long time have I been following some of these guys' careers.
Yeah. So this is adapted by from a short story by Joe Hill. You may know his dad, Stephen King.
Never heard of him.
You know, I actually was not familiar with the short story, but I've heard a lot of good things about this movie for a while, ever since it was like screened at I'm not sure what festival, but it's been getting like good word of mouth for a while.
Yeah.
So-
the trailer's been in theaters for forever.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? This is coming out?
This is only coming out now.
I was, I liked the trailers, but it didn't tell me a lot, and I couldn't really get a great vibe from it. I just knew, okay, it's by Scott Derrickson.
Yeah.
Sinister, Doctor Strange.
Ethan Hawke.
It's supposed to be great. Ethan Hawke is supposed to be
It's creepy.
fantastic in this. So I was just like, okay, I trust the word of mouth. Sometimes trailers aren't great. I didn't think the most recent trailer of Nope was.
Oh
Yeah, we just saw that, and it's funny. Like right after that,
felt
that
so
trailer,
different from the first one.
No, I
Yeah.
wish I
It's
hadn't seen it.
What is the actual tone of this movie? Because like the first trailer, I got one thing, and then
Really
this one.
foreboding, yeah. And
Yeah.
then the second one is like almost comedic.
Yeah,
And
a lot more
I was,
comedy.
like generally I was really like into the trailers I saw before this movie. I was just like a lot of interesting kind of horror movies coming out. Olivia Wilde's film. Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes,
Looks great.
That looks great. The smiley face commercial.
The smiley face one. Yeah.
That looks like the like laugh all through the movie type of.
I'm all for it, man.
Like every time there was just a shot of someone smiling creepily, I was just like
Well,
laughing.
you had left to go to the bathroom when you came back. Like everybody in the
Yeah.
theater was just quietly like watching this, and you just start laughing because you look up at the screen and someone's like smiling.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, Melody, you should have just been like smiling like a plastic
should have
smile
been,
on your
yeah.
face the whole time and just like turn slowly to look at Chris.
Well, it's like we saw this at a matinee, so I feel like it's like most of our theater was like average. Like we don't see very many horror movies type of probably customers, so they took it at absolute face value, and I'm just like giggling through the whole thing. This is ridiculous.
That movie is just someone who's like, let's do The Ring, but it smiles. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
It smiles. They should have called it "It Smiles" instead of "It Follows."
Yeah. It follows.
That's a good one.
It is a really good one. Yeah. What did he just do? Didn't we just talk? Oh no. Let's edit this. It Follows is a good movie. Everybody, you should watch.
That's a good one.
No, he did the Silver Lake film, which I still need to see it. I know Chris really
We
watched.
watched that
Ooh,
recently,
yes,
we
I
liked it.
really liked that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in Silver Lake all the time. So.
There you go. You'll go crazy about how some of the scenes where he's like walking home make no sense because you're like, wait, that's like not anywhere near where he's supposed to live.
I'm sure that fits the vibe of the movie, though.
Yeah, sure. Disorienting.
All right, so the Black Phone. So yeah, it's been a few years since Derrickson's, I guess, last movie. Was it Doctor Strange? Or did he
Maybe.
do-
I think he was supposed to originally do Doctor Strange 2. And then I think it was an Edgar Wright situation where there were creative differences.
Yeah.
And they exited the project and they brought Sam Raimi in. So he kind of went off to do another horror movie, which is this. But did this get delayed for COVID? Because I definitely feel like I saw this movie, like, the trailer for this movie, like, 2 years ago.
I think it might have. Yeah, I feel like it did.
Okay. So this is a possible pre-COVID movie.
Anyway, so what were your general thoughts, guys? I was trying to avoid your letterbox rating because I just wanted to go in blind, and then I accidentally like opened it like 30 minutes before we were recording.
I
Not
saw,
thinking about it.
I saw yours right after, and I was like, we might, yeah.
Well, I don't
My
know.
rating fluctuated a bit.
Okay.
A bit. So
Okay, yeah. I generally thought the movie was really good. Again, we saw this at a matinee, so it felt like a good afternoon movie. I mean, it wasn't too long.
Yeah.
The last movie we saw before this was Elvis, and we saw that in the middle of the
gosh,
afternoon,
yeah.
and that felt like it was never ending. And this felt like, okay, good, solid,
good amount.
hour and a half movie. It gives you everything you want in this type of scenario. It's someone trapped in a room, trying to figure their way out of it. Building these sort of clues, these sort of payoffs. I thought that was the kids were pretty good, and it felt satisfying going out of it. I feel like we'll kind of get into this. I feel like when we talk maybe spoilers, some individual things didn't quite work for me, but overall I felt
sure.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for sure.
I immediately liked just the look of the movie. The first scene is the baseball field and stuff. I was like, oh, it's summer and the 70s, and just had a really good feel to it.
It's summer, but it's foreboding too.
Foreboding, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a creepy kind of memory to it. It reminded me of some of the documentaries we were watching, what's the one on the Golden State Killer?
I don't know the name of the documentary. There's probably dozens.
Zodiac, the one with Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, it's not Zodiac,
Yeah,
but yeah. I'll be gone in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Yes,
that, right?
it
Yeah.
kind of gave me that vibe, of 70s suburban,
But like
mystery stuff going
the
on.
coloring in the film already had like this 70s look, and then like when it had memories that were further back, it was like even more grungy 70s, like
yeah,
grainy.
like 16 millimeter.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, well, he so in Sinister, that movie is about kind of Ethan Hawke's character. They like move into this house that a murder takes place in, and they discover like these Super 8 home movies.
Yeah.
And so that footage is interspliced throughout it. And he did that again, and the Black Phone, he kind of uses a lot of Super 8 kind of style footage to kind of really set in that 1978 setting, and it works really, really well because Super 8 footage just naturally just kind of has a eerie sort of vibe to it.
Yeah, I feel like he fits this time period pretty well. Like I just listened to like a podcast series. It's about the Amityville murder case. It's actually hosted by Donnie Wahlberg, which is really weird, but it was a pretty interesting little podcast, just 6 episodes. And it got me thinking about that story again and the billion sequels. And I feel like, like we already had a really bad remake in like the early 2000s. But if like Scott Derrickson wanted to like adapt something, like another sort of like remake or maybe new reimagining of something, like Amityville would be a good fit. Like that sort of era, style, and tone. You're wincing your eyes like you're not sure, Zach.
Kris, we've already gotten Amityville in space. Where else can we go?
Oh God,
Have you seen that trailer, Matt?
I haven't. No, I
Wait,
looked
what?
up. I looked up
Space.
Amityville movies on Letterboxd to see how many there were, and of course, there's like over 40. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There's a production company that they specialize in like low budget things.
Yeah.
I think they did Velocipaster or something about like a pasture that turns into
That's amazing.
I believe it's the same company, but they did like Amityville in space, and it's like Amityville horror but in space. It looks ridiculous. I still need to see that if it came out. I'm not even sure if it's out yet. Anyway, back to the Black Phone. This movie had a lot of different. You can tell he was trying to capture some of Sinister. It almost felt in parts kind of like It Chapter 1. And they were certainly trying to give the grabber, Ethan Hawke's character, the kind of serial killer at the heart, at the center of this movie, kind of a Pennywise vibe. He's got balloons. But somewhere between that, it kind of had, a bit of The Conjuring, the first 2 movies, a little bit of like, I don't know, Ouija Origin of Evil. It was trying to capture, it was very much, late 70s. But what impressed me most about this movie was the cast. I really, really thought the performances are great.
Oh, yeah.
Mason Thames, Finney, really just likable, sympathetic performance from him. You just kind of root for him the whole way. And more than anything, though, as great as Ethan Hawke was, and he's menacing in this movie, he's fantastic. I wanted a few more scenes with them. That was one of my nitpicks.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, we agreed.
Yeah, like that's probably my main nitpick with the film is that him as a villain is not super loud car going by right now. Just edit this out. That was probably one of my main like nitpicks with the movie was that he as a villain is not like super fleshed out. I mean, like with, Pennywise, obviously he's a clown. He's a supernatural, so he's obviously like pretty iconic. But Ethan Hawke's character, he like shows up and it's immediate, like because of the van, something's wrong here. But he shows up and he just like the scene where he kind of like grabs our main character happens like super, super fast. Like it's almost like disorienting. And you don't really get a sense of like, how he lured these kids in or how... like how there's no like sense of like charisma or even like like something that would like fool these kids or even a personality whatsoever of why he's doing this. He's pretty much like sinister from the beginning, no pun intended, but he's pretty much like creepy from the beginning, and you don't really find out much more from his character. And a lot of his like appearances throughout the movie are pretty short. Like he pretty much kind of appears to be menacing, to remind you that there's a threat, and then just kind of disappears.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the vibe you get from him is that he constantly has a mask on or part of a mask on because he doesn't want to expose his face. And there's something just he doesn't like about his face for whatever reason. He needs it covered. I also think at the same time that was kind of purposeful that they didn't really delve into his backstory. I don't know how much it's explained in the short story, But I think in a way, I'm guessing their thinking was that kind of was what makes him more of a chilling villain by not knowing why he's doing what he's doing. I do think there's some, validity to that kind of thought. We kind of live in an era of murder porn that fetishizes and glamorizes serial killers, and there's a new, documentary or docudrama every week about Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. So I do appreciate that this film focuses on the victims, and rather than the serial killer's motives. Yeah. I enjoyed that aspect of it because it's really about this kid who's trapped. There's a phone, and it's kind of almost a Frequency setup. If you've never seen Frequency, fantastic film. And so he gets calls. He gets calls from this killer's past victims, and they help him kind of get out of the situation. It's a really great plot, and so that was really what the focus is more on. Exactly what the killer's motives are and why he's doing what he's doing. And so from that aspect, I kind of looked away from those criticisms because those are my nitpicks too, is that I would have liked at least a few more scenes, even if we're not getting an explanation as to why the grabber's doing what he's doing. I wanted a few more just scenes of him being menacing than we got. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those are my critiques. But for me, they were small nitpicks because I just thought overall the film was so well put together and structured, and the performances were so good. I really wanted to highlight Madeline McGraw. This girl, she played Gwen, Finney's sister. By far, I thought stole this movie. Every scene this girl is in is so good.
Yeah.
Her performance is astoundingly good.
She played the doll in Toy Story 4. Like
the doll?
Yeah, like the antagonist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I thought that was like, I just assumed that was probably an adult or like someone doing.
Oh my gosh.
Because that performance is like really good. And it's like, oh, wow. That was like 5 years ago. So she must have been like super young when she did that.
I mean, there's such a range with her performance and this is what impressed me about this movie, because it'll go from like, brief moments of levity where this character Gwen is calling someone a cocksucker to just like downright terror within the span of like 5 minutes. And it really, like, you would think that doesn't work, but it does. This movie was a lot funnier than I expected it to be. I didn't think it was going to have much humor at all.
Yeah, some of it, I don't know, some of it was a little jarring for me, like the music cuts. Like, I remember specifically when they cut to the gas station and show, like, the metal guy playing pinball.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have, like, a song that's, like, straight out of Guardians of the Galaxy. It felt, like, a little tonally jarring to me. Like,
I can get with that. For whatever reason, I went with it. That guy reminded me of, what's his name from, was it Salute Your Shorts, or...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
The kid with the mullet from Terminator 2.
Or just like a bully that would be in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Stranger Things guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's
talking about Stranger Things,
yeah.
Eddie.
Looked
Eddie.
very... and Billy, too.
Billy, yeah.
Kind of looked like Billy, too. Yeah, very much like Billy. Yeah, Madeline McGraw, she goes from, again, like... using really obscene profanity to like these heart-wrenching scenes where their dad, Finney and Gwen, who I believe Gwen is supposed to be his younger sister by like a year or something. Their dad is like an abusive alcoholic, and there's a scene where he's whipping her.
Yeah,
and, it's really hard to watch.
It is. What did you think about the dad? Because we kind of made some jokes about him. Like, Melody, what do you think about the dad?
But, I mean, first of all, I was like, oh, it's the guy from Lost. I don't know. Daniel Faraday. I don't know his like actual name.
Jeremy Davies.
Yes.
From Spanking the Monkey from the early 90s.
He just was kind of just drunk all the time and abusive. It looked like maybe like their family was happy at one time, but then ever since their mom passed away.
Right.
And then I guess the mom saw like visions of things that like eventually led to like mental illness and like her harming herself.
Yeah.
And so the dad just, anything related to that, he just did not want his daughter to...
It's interesting this is a Joe Hill story because it feels like so many like Stephen King tropes, or at least like Stephen King ideas. Like someone having, like, she's got the shining, essentially. She's got the shinning.
Yeah.
She's a little clairvoyant. She has like a sixth sense.
Yeah.
She has dreams about the grabber.
Right.
And she kind of tries to channel that vision to help find her brother. And one of my favorite aspects of this is when she's like praying to Jesus to help her. And when she doesn't get dreams, she just like cusses Jesus out and she's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And
why
then
are you
later
helping
she
me here?
apologizes and like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know Scott Derrickson is religious in real life, so like I feel like some of that always like comes through, which is always interesting and entertaining. Yeah, Jesus, what the fuck? I'm like, same.
I just felt like these characters were so like fleshed out and felt really just organic and real to me compared to a lot of horror movies I've seen recently, and I think that's why I really kind of connected with this film as much as I did. I just really enjoyed the characters in it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it like I was a big fan of the especially the first It, and I don't think it quite like reaches the heights of that of like
Maybe not quite.
as far as like main balancing the tone of horror and comedy and having like the likability of the characters. I don't think it quite gets that, it reaches the heights of that, but it definitely like is. I think it's serviceable to this story and to this this type of movie. We were making jokes though about the dad, about how he's like super menacing, and then the movie almost like makes him a little bit more sympathetic because we kind of have to for the sake of the story.
Towards the end, you
Like, yeah, like where he, does like calm down and actually starts to believe the daughter. But it I don't know, that first scene where he is like beating his daughter is so terrible that you just kind of, it makes you like turn on him as a character. And I was like, I don't buy this, like when he's like kind of being more sympathetic, towards the second half of the movie. I'm like, he took him too far in the first act, and I don't think you can really bring him back from that.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the movie, like there is, I think this is almost an intentional thing too from the filmmakers where, he's the kid. Spoilers, I guess, as we get into this.
Sure, we can do spoilers, brief spoiler section.
Yeah. It's like at the end of the movie, he escapes the killer and is returned back to his family, and his father comes up and is like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're safe." And there's almost this like look on his face or sense of like, "Oh, great, now I just got to deal with this shit." Like he's safe, but oh, not really. Like,
Yeah.
I almost felt it was like, we could report your ass right now, Dad.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, call child protection.
Yeah, as he was
services,
like
you were thinking.
bending down, like crying over them, there was almost like the look in the kids, like where I just wanted them to like look over and yell like, "Social services, can you come over here, please?"
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that's where they were leaning, and like him kind of evading this killer was sort of going to lead to them evading his dad, but they sort of left it kind of open-ended. They didn't exactly describe what was going to happen there. They sort of apologized, and then they're like, should we accept this apology?
Yeah, I kind of almost wanted him to say to his dad, like, "Dad, don't fucking touch me." Like, like he's like, because he's like gained that strength now,
That's true,
like
yeah.
he has overcome that sort of like oppression from the adults, and so yeah, I kind of almost wanted a little bit more of that, but
For sure.
yeah, Jeremy Davies is a creepy motherfucker as well.
He's great.
He played Charles Manson in like a made-for-TV
really?
Manson
That makes
family
sense.
movie.
He's got a Manson vibe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought the whole cast, even like the kids that are playing the victims, we have one of his friends named Robin, who really just kind of, his introduction really reminded me of Rudy from Monster Squad. We just have this bully that's being a dick, and he just beats the shit out of this kid. To the point that our main character, Finney, is like, that's too much, man. That's oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So what were your final ratings, guys? Any last thoughts before we move on to Stranger Things?
I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I think it's like I said, a really satisfying movie for like the length that it is. We'll see if it makes my like top 5 of the end of the year, or at least in horror movies, because it's really solid. And maybe I'll like it again if I rewatch it later down the road. But overall, yeah, I think it's like really solid. I don't think it like reaches the heights of like something like It Chapter 1 necessarily. Just like little quirks, little like things I probably would have gone in and recommended that change. Like punch up things here and there. Like Ethan Hawke is really menacing, but I don't think we get a whole lot of his character. And there's like also the twist that happens with him and another person.
Oh yeah.
That I think they give away a little too much. Like you kind of figure it out immediately. I guess we'll just spoilers. We'll talk about what it is. The fact that the killer has a brother that is living in the same house, and we introduced that brother earlier, and his brother is trying to solve the case, even though it's in his own house, and it's like, how does that even work? Like, how do you not figure out that your brother is kidnapping kids and like walking around with this scary mask on all the time?
That brother is James Ransone, who played Eddie in It Chapter 2, by the way.
Oh, I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of questions that they don't really answer. A lot of confusing things.
But they did have a lot of like cool intentional things, like with the phone calls, all the like ghosts gave him advice. At first you're like, well, that didn't work, but then he used, like you're saying, the grate from the window for something, and then the meat in the freezer was useful later. Like
that all felt really well put together and kind of built up to, like I said, it all builds up to like a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like the final showdown between, Finney and Grabber was solid. It could have been maybe a little more, elaborated on potentially. But like, I don't know. Overall, my rating was 4.5 on Letterboxd. That would have been a 4.25. But that's not available on Letterboxd. So I waffled between that and 4. I just was really thinking about specifically Madeline McGraw's performance, but in general, I just thought that was such a really award-worthy performance.
Yeah, for sure.
I really hope she gets recognition for. I don't know. It's the Black Phone. It's a horror movie, so who knows?
Yeah, no way.
If she will, but she really deserves it. And just how it was wrapped and structured, I thought it was really well put together. So I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It'll certainly make my probably top 5 at the end of the year. I'm trying to think of what's come out so far this year and where it would rank, but it's way up there for me to this point. But that was The Black Phone. Really great movie. Definitely go check it out. Definitely go see it in theaters. It's one of the best, I think, strongest horror releases so far this year. It's very good. And check out the short story. I'm sure it's great.
And don't
Joe Hill's a good writer.
Oh, actually, no. Do answer the phone. I was about to say don't answer the phone. Answer the phone, even if it's a ghost.
And if it's a telemarketer.
Yeah, even if it's a telemarketer. Keep talking. They might be a dead telemarketer.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. So something else, another kind of pretty major release came out.
Pretty major.
You
might have seen it.
Something a little strange. Is this Don't Cross the Streams technically, or
I think
is it
so.
a fefeature scare? Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be Don't Cross the Streams. This is a streaming show. This is a segment where we talk about streaming.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All right. Melody, you want to introduce it?
Introduce the final chapter. Wait, are we talking about the second chapter of season 4?
We've already talked about the first
I was going to say,
half.
you can introduce the segment, so just say, this is Don't Cross the Streams.
This is Don't Cross the Streams. We are talking about... I don't really know how this goes. I'm sorry.
No, that was great. That was great.
We're talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2.
Part 2.
Volume
Yes.
2, yep.
And it
Volume
was
7.
released on... What day? January? Not January.
Released?
Okay.
No, it was released like
July.
2 days ago.
Yes. Sorry, this is why
Super fresh.
I fumble with words when I'm put on the spot.
It's okay.
So
Oh, you're fine. I'm totally the same. I'm absolutely the same.
Yeah, so it starts like right where the other one left off. Like we're not given any kind of like intro. The kids are in the middle of,
Yeah.
aren't they stuck in the upside down kind of area?
Yeah,
Sites?
yeah. It feels like pretty organic. I mean, it feels like we just watched part 1. Like, how long ago did part 1 come out? Just only a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Feels
you
like
did
it.
just watch part
Yeah, this is like a pretty short gap, I feel like, between releases. I guess that was their plan,
Yeah.
Netflix, in stretching this out. But it's very atypical in that this is not a, like second half of the season cut up by 6 episodes. It feels that length because they're so long, but it's only 2 episodes. One an hour and a half, and the second one 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I kind of didn't have as much anxiety watching this one as like the first. I feel like the first half of the release, I don't know, had more anxiety with the
Yeah, there was
characters
more
and stuff.
sort of tension and
This
mystery
one kind
going
of
on.
felt like, there was a lot of stuff happening, but it felt like it was just kind of like trying to get this all to wrap up and wind down.
Yeah, it felt like the latter half of a story. Like, we know who the bad guy is. We're introduced to Vecna. at the end of the last season.
Yeah, and I'm
We
kind
find
of
out who he
over the
is.
Russia thing. I'm like, okay, like let's just get out of there.
Yeah, we're still
You're like,
fucking
just
in
kill
Russia.
someone already.
Yeah.
The moment in this season when they're like, we have to break back into the prison, I was like, oh, for God's sake. Like,
I
let's
like
just
no,
get
but
out of here.
I literally said that right before they said it. I was like, they gotta go back. That's the
You're right,
only-
yes. They're gonna have to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so adults are still in Russia. I feel like it was intentional that, you know, we have to like separate the adults from the kids.
They always do that. Like they never have it to where they're together. I feel like
Yeah, hardly ever.
plotline.
Yeah, so the adults are still stuck in Russia trying to get Hawkins? No, the town is called Hawkins. What's our sheriff called?
Hopper?
Hopper, yes.
Yeah, we're still trying to get
Hopper out of
Hopper
Russia.
out of a Russian prison. And then half of the kids are in the Upside Down.
Yeah, and the other half is trying to get Elle out of the little
Elle is
base
still in
where
the
Papa
facility.
has her.
Yeah, Papa.
Yeah.
My grandfather we referred to as Papa, so it's really weird when we're talking about this bad guy and calling him Papa.
Yeah.
Um,
They like wanted to create a sympathy for Papa towards the end, like right before he died, I feel like.
yeah, no, fuck Papa. Like, don't care about Papa. Never liked that guy. Now it just makes me think of Papa Pizza from Doctor Strange.
Oh,
Bruce
gotcha.
Campbell's cameo.
Yeah, and then we have like with Will and the car scene where it seems like all throughout the season it's just been building with he's just kind of like pent up with his emotions the whole time.
Yes.
And then he turns to him and says like, "Oh, like really misses you and would do anything." And then you just see that he's really just replacing like his name with L. Like he really cares about him.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
It was a great scene. It feels like we needed more resolution to that. I feel like, but
Well, there is another season coming out.
this is my central tension with this entire finale. Okay, it's so fucking long. It's such a like a like it's clearly like a conclusion. Like even though this is broken up into two pieces, weirdly enough, with the second half being like longer than the first half, it's clearly like one solid like third act of a story that is this Stranger Things Volume 4. And for some reason going into this, I just assumed that this was the end. Like this was like the final season for these characters.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like nobody said this was it. I think people are already talking about how there was going to be another season after this. But for some reason, this just felt like the conclusion. Like this felt like an Avengers Endgame.
Oh,
like,
it does have like like Lord of the Rings, like Deathly Hallows, part 1, part 2, sort of like, to build up.
I
to
mean, the scene
final
where
showdown.
Hopper is like, freaking like battling that Demogorgon with a sword. I mean, that felt like an epic conclusion. Maybe the series has gotten so big.
Where did that sword come from?
I have no
Just
idea.
there.
Who was like, let's
cares?
just give him a sword.
and stone.
It
was awesome.
I was for a
just
second
wondering
like, where
it
did that
came
come from? And then I was like, who cares? I think it was left over from like earlier when all the prisoners were trying to fight the Demogorgon, but whatever. But it felt like maybe this series has just gotten so big. Like the production is like so expensive now. Their scope is like so epic now. Like this is like leaps and bounds away from where we were in the first season, where it feels like such like small scale kids on their bikes, trying to like the conclusion for season 1 is like Elle makes a car fly in the air, and it feels like
very very easy.
It's almost like the way with Harry Potter, how it
Yeah.
starts all innocent with the kids, and then whenever
Yeah.
they get older, it's like, oh, we gotta
it's
make
so
it scarier
epic.
and
Yeah,
kinda more
it's so
horror level.
It's so big scale now that I don't know how they're gonna like. I feel like if they just try to top this season, it's just gonna be exhausting. Like it's just gonna be so over the top.
So, like, before we get into specific stuff, what was just your general kind of thoughts on how the season wrapped up?
I mean, overall, I, for the most part, enjoyed it. I mean, it was a fun way to spend the majority of an afternoon and evening. I feel frustrated because I feel like they definitely needed to have more conclusions to some story arcs and to some things. I think they are stretching this out a little too far. And for the most part, I feel like a lot of the stories were stretched out needlessly too long. Like, we should have gotten Elle out of that facility quicker. Like, this is more to do with the first half of the season, but Hopper being in that jail just felt like monotonous. Like, him just trying to get out and then going back in and then finding his way out again. It just is like, come on, just like hurry it up already. Like, change something. Like, have the characters accomplish something, you know?
I liked I guess my favorite part about the whole thing was with the
Vecna character, yeah.
Vecna.
How like that was all tied into like Elle's past, and it was like, oh, that explains it. Like it gave an explanation for the Upside Down and everything, and how that came into being. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, which they reinforce. They reinforce that a little bit more now when Elle, confronts him face to face, and it's like, it's been you this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a big spoiler, but before that, it was just kind of like Vecna's sort of a foot soldier or something. No, he's like the omnipotent evil. He's like the mind flayer. He's like everything.
Yeah, which I assumed that's where they were going with this, even in the first part of the season. I was like, oh, they're gonna make him like essentially the puppet master to everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like it was really leading up to like a conclusion, and it's kind of weird that it's not.
It is. It's just one more season, man.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Jeez, it's really gonna be like all the kids are like super old.
Not super. I mean, they'll be like in college. It'll be like
they're still like, they're like 10 years younger than us, dude. Don't call us old.
They're just so tall. I can't buy them now anymore as kids. Yeah, like within the show, like Stranger Things started what? Like it's been like 8 years or so. When did Stranger Things 1 come out?
Jeez.
We gotta Google.
Probably not 8 years. Probably like 5 years, maybe. This is my guess.
Okay, so Stranger Things 1 released in 2016.
Oh.
So it's been about 5 years. No, wait.
6.
6 years. And it seems like within the show itself, like only 3 years have gone by, or like I guess 4 years.
Kids grow, man.
It's like those kids are no way those kids are like only like supposed to be like 16.
I really enjoy this. I'm always really impressed with anytime there's a show or just an ensemble thing like this. It's so hard to navigate that many characters, and I just think they do a really good job. The Duffer Brothers and the Stranger Things writing team, they really made sure every character is given kind of a standout moment within these 2 episodes. From Argyle to Murray, who those guys, by the way, hilarious all season long. Just really, I was glad to see Brett Gelman given a media role this season, and Argyle, just every time he was on screen, had just a great quip. And I loved his moment in finding the Surfer Boy Pizza parlor and kind of saving the day in a respect. So I do really appreciate that they give everyone something important to do. Just it all serves the plot or character moment, kind of in this journey to stop Vecna and save Hawkins and potentially the world from just this impending doom and the Upside Down. Yeah. So I do really enjoy that they made sure to kind of check in with everybody. And yeah, I think another a discussion can be talked about just how that's sort of formulaic for these movies. Like again, with like something like Deathly Hallows or Lord of the Rings, there's always that kind of preparation segment that lasts about an hour or so, just kind of prepping for the final battle. You have all these emotional character beats and these scenes that are like, I should have said this a long time ago. And I've been meaning to tell you this, but I just, we're going to die maybe. So let me just,
at least Hopper and Winona finally kiss.
Yeah. So it's a little formulaic, but it's certainly a formula that works and it makes sense. And I just think with ensemble shows like that, that's just kind of how it kind of breaks down. And you kind of need that build up, I think, before a climax, before shit hits the fan. And so you need those character driven moments. And I think this really delivers. I just wanted to at least talk about a couple of my favorite, I think, performances. Everything with Caleb McLaughlin and Sadie Sink, Lucas and Max, I thought was great. They have really great chemistry together, and their scenes are super, some of the strongest moments. Mm-hmm.
I definitely thought she was going to bite it. And that
she kind of, she did for a minute, and then they were like, wait,
nope. We bring her back. We can only get rid of one of these. Yeah. Only one of these characters is dispensable, and it's the newest character.
Yeah, people were pretty heartbroken about the season before this, where that what was it, that Russian guy that was like drinking the
Oh,
Slurpee?
Alexei.
Slurpee
yeah.
dude, how he
Yeah.
like they're gonna let us fall in love with another new character, and then they're gonna
That is like a
take
thing
him away.
now. Like they did that with season 2 with Samwise Gamgee.
Mm-hmm.
Like they introduce a new character, make you fall in love with him, and he's gonna bite it. He's gonna die.
Yeah, it's. I loved Eddie though. Joseph Quinn was a fantastic character, and it did feel like, I mean, his arc is kind of from kind of running away to turning into a hero. That was sort of his arc, from kind of being the scapegoat into kind of, you know, I think turning that corner.
sacrificial.
And I do think they kind of completed his arc, but I hope they find a way to bring him back in at least sort of flashbacks or a forced ghost sort of role or
Yes,
something.
maybe he'll come back
know.
and he'll play his metal guitar.
We'll probably just get
in
a
the
new.
Ghost.
We'll probably just get a new character that will be cool and interesting, and then they'll kill him off.
But yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to kind of get into what I hope to see next season a bit as well. I think, Noah Schnapp, I thought was really great. He had some really wonderful moments. I know there's been sort of some kind of discussion, criticism of whether they're playing this in-between game with him about his sort of sexuality, and if they're kind of...
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they're not really committing to it very hard.
They're kind of going in between, but I also think that as a teenager, that's a tough thing to deal with, and it's a tough thing to kind of, that's your discovery.
Especially in the
Well, they
80s.
already
You know?
have like one character that is like, she's
Yeah.
not fully out, but she's like firm in how she feels at least,
Yeah.
and so it's like,
Yeah.
and then they have another that's not quite.
I do think they're portraying his inner turmoil well, and we're gonna see what directions the writers ultimately take him with next season, I'm sure. But you can really see his eternal fight with that performance. Yeah, he could be a little more open with that, but I think in the 80s, being out was not an easy thing. So, I mean, it's still not an easy thing necessarily. So it's unfortunately, and so I could see why they're kind of sort of just showing him struggling and kind of trying to come to terms with who he is. But I think that's just being a teenager. This also ties into sort of Mike as well, because there's been a lot of criticisms about Mike since he's a very different character from season 1 Mike, who was kind of, as Will talks about this promo, he was like the heart of the show, one of them. And he's become very much just obsessed with everything with Elle, and very just much a teenager. And, I was looking at reactions to these episodes on Twitter, because Twitter is the best, least toxic place on the internet to have a reaction to something. And, he's received a fair bit of flack for being basically a dipshit, and rightfully so. But, he disregards his friends. He's become pretty selfish. And there was a tweet that talked about how Mike was a poorly written character. And I just wanted to say, I don't think he's poorly written. I just think he's a teenager.
Yeah.
And,
He's a
I was
very
a late
flawed
bloomer.
character.
I've always been sort of young for my age. I didn't date a lot in high school, so I've only had one serious relationship. That was like when I was 26. So always been young for my age. My point is, being a teenager sucks. And I can't imagine navigating a relationship when at like 16 like he is. And when you're a teenager, you have festering explosive hormones, you have school, peer pressure, you got homework, and you're just really early on in that discovery process of kind of finding out who you are. There's a lot of pent up sexual anxiety. It's a shitstorm. It's terrible. It's the worst. So I just feel like if you're navigating all that, you're going to disregard things that are important to you and your friends. And I would have been nowhere near ready for a relationship at the age he's at. So I just think you're learning what you're prioritizing, what's important to you. And so you're going to push people away that you don't want to push people away just because you're dealing with all this teenage angst, and it's tough. And so I just think that's what Mike's going through. So him being a jerk, I just think that's what teenagers are like. And I hope they turn the corner and bring him back to season 1, season 2 Mike a bit in the next season. I think he's overdue, like a more heroic moment, kind of like he had in season 1, where he was standing up to those bullies and things like that. So he's kind of been away from the action for the last couple seasons. He's sort of on the periphery a bit and kind of just supporting Elle. So I hope he kind of steps in, and he may end up being a sacrificial lamb. We will see. But I do think he's due for a moment to kind of step in and help Eleven a little bit more than he did. But I did enjoy his speech to Elle, kind of just trying to tell her he loves her and stuff like that and help her out in that sense.
I like that moment too.
But I think he's due for a more action-oriented thing. I also think Gaten, Dustin, who's also, I think, when I think of Stranger Things, he's the first character I think of usually. He's really, really the heart and soul of the show to me. And he's kind of been tagged along with Eddie and with Steve for the last couple seasons. So I think he's also really due for a really kind of heroic moment. He's kind of been, he ran away, saving himself, which I think most people would do. But I think he's due for, he always is kind of the first to kind of get a beat on something about something weird that's going on and kind of look into it and kind of get everyone to kind of investigate. And so he usually is great in that role. But I'd like to see him kind of take on as you were talking about, Kris, the kind of Horus sort of Monster Squad role where he takes out the creatures. Yeah. I want that.
He needs a My Name is Horus moment.
He does. So I hope we get that. I hope we get that for him next season.
Yeah, and more Robin.
More Robin, absolutely.
My favorite character that they've introduced in season 3, and she's such a standout and such a both funny and endearing character for the show that I think it's funny that she's such a standout and almost become a more I think a more engaging character than even some of our originals.
Oh no, she's fantastic. Yeah, I was glad she did not become a victim. I was a little worried.
They wouldn't dare kill off Robin.
Yeah. She gets to throw a Molotov at Vecna, which is great. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that brief scene with her and Vicky, played by Amy Beth McNulty from the show. I think it's Anna with an E, which I've not seen. But
that's why I recognized her.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that show. Just seen the trailer for it and
Yeah, I heard it's good, but you could tell that they're just that brief scene. They had a lot of chemistry, and obviously they're trying to set up Vicky as pretty similar to Robin because she has some of the same sort of ticks.
And Molly Ringwald as well.
Yeah, so I definitely enjoyed that dynamic. And there was less Steve in this finale than I expected there to be.
Yeah, well, it's interesting his whole story with Nancy and that they're sort of hinting at their, going back into a romance with them possibly. And it almost feels like a reaction to oh, people really like Steve now.
Yeah, I was kind of I didn't know where I wanted that to go because I was well, what does Jonathan have if he doesn't have Nancy? That's sort of his storyline.
He's got weed, I guess.
He's got weed and Argyle, I guess.
Redeem him eventually.
But I mean, Steve is obviously great, and I don't think he necessarily needs to get with Nancy to kind of fulfill his arc, whatever that's going to be. He was certainly the one everyone thought was going to go in this episode. He was the favorite.
Oh, I thought it was definitely going to be Nancy.
I had a bad feeling about Eddie the whole time because I liked Eddie a lot. Yeah. I just knew my butt was clenched this whole finale because there are moments where just it seems like everyone is screwed and you're just cutting back and forth between everyone that's dying. Right. And I was where's Eddie? What's Eddie? What's going on with Eddie? Eddie!
No!
I guess he just went back to fight the bats because
they buy more time. Yeah.
Yeah. So they wouldn't go back to the house or what? Because once they couldn't get into that trailer, were they just gonna go back to where they came from, and that's why he was.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, there's some when Max's limbs start to break, I was oh shit,
yeah,
killing Max up. So yeah, this is there is some definitely stellar moments in this. I really enjoyed it. I'm very eager to see.
I think what I think what I want from season 5 though overall is just for them to scale back a little bit, bring this back to maybe a little bit. I mean, I don't think they can at this point, but
it's too late now. That little
the end of the world is it's I think if anything it's gonna be more, but
I just think it's a little bloated at this point. Story-wise, and I feel I want them to bring this back a little bit more small scale.
Well, I think the witch hunt is going to continue to get the
maybe
Dungeons and Dragons, because the news said that it was down to a cult group called the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely I feel a commentary on just how things were in the 80s as well. That all this satanic panic stuff was happening.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get the Halloween group trying to witch hunt group. Oh gosh. Season 5 will be interesting. They certainly set the stage. Really great final shot. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. There's so many different kind of directions they can take the characters. Hopefully they don't introduce too many new characters in the next season. I think you have a pretty core group there.
Yeah, I think
you just need to.
I think they might, and I hope they don't do this, but they could always Arrested Development style, where they make one episode solely devoted to 11 and her what she's doing, and then make an episode solely devoted to Steve and them and what they're doing. Yeah, I don't think they. I feel like they kind of tried that in season 2 when they made that one episode that everyone hated.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering if that character is going to come back at all. If she's just like chilling, like, oh, end of the world, whatever. Like, it's weird if they don't touch on it ever again. Like, because she has powers. Like, she could help.
I don't think they will. I mean, I think the reaction to that episode was so bad that they're just
She
kind of
wasn't.
like,
Yeah, they could have thrown her in the memories that Elle had, but they didn't do that.
They didn't. Yeah, she feels pretty removed from it now, so I guess they're just gonna like not worry about it anymore. But I wouldn't be like totally shocked if she shows up next season. How do you think they're gonna group the characters together next season? How would you group them together, Kris?
I would try to find some excuse for them all to have to work together. And it might seem like ridiculous and bloated, but I don't know. Maybe they'll do them like directly in half, like they did with Avengers Endgame, where they were like, "There's too many damn characters. We have to kill half of them off and make a story that's like only half of these characters." So maybe they'll like 50-50 it, or like I said, do like an episode focusing on just 2 characters. I actually kind of might like that, just because it might kind of feel like it does bring it down a little small scale, and then bring them all together towards the end. But I have no idea.
It should definitely mix the adults with the kids, though. Have them like working together as like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Is there like any like 2 characters or something you really want to see kind of teaming up?
Well, definitely Elle and her dad. I would like to see more of them together, maybe.
Yeah, Ellen Hopper.
Yeah.
I want to see some Argyle and Murray.
Oh yeah.
Tag team.
That would be hilarious.
That would be so good.
I'm trying to think of who I want Robin to be paired up with. Maybe Winona Ryder's character.
That'd be good.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Or like Dustin would be fun.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, her and
Well,
Steve are such a tag team. I mean, they're gonna keep those 2
they
together.
are such a tag team. Yeah. It feels like her whole costume get up, her like uniform for the video store. I was like, she looks like a Doctor Who. Like, she looks like she could be the Doctor and Steve could be her companion.
That'd be good. Yeah. For sure. Well, that was any final thoughts, guys, before we wrap things up here?
It was good. I'm just tired.
You're just tired. There you go. That was good.
It's nice when we have episodes where we can talk about good movies and good TV shows and good things.
Let's only talk about bad stuff next episode. We'll bring Casey back because it's his shit
birthday coming up.
No, I was gonna say it's his forte to shit on things.
It is, and we love him for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do some social media plug. Kris, Melody, where can they find you guys on social media? If you want to plug any of your social media,
if you want them to find you. People
if you
never
don't,
find me.
you can just stay silent. But Melody is a tremendous, wonderful artist, so you should absolutely see her artwork if that's available to see anywhere.
You can follow me at Kris Pistole, Kris with a K, Pistole with a E, on both Twitter and Letterboxd.
You can follow me on Instagram at paint_stained underscore pistol. I can't talk today. So that's the only place I'm at. Paint stained pistol. Spaces are underscores.
We're firm on the no weirdos policy, so don't follow Mel if you're weird.
Well, it's not like a public account, so
okay.
I can judge based on what you like.
Come forth if you want to be judged.
Melody will judge. But you guys also have a podcast, a Disney podcast.
We do, and a new episode in the works.
Ooh. Where can they find your podcast? Can you hear the pod?
Can you hear the pod tonight on YouTube? Search for it on YouTube, and you can find it.
Any tease about the next episode?
It should be pretty silly, pretty goofy.
Okay.
Goofy indeed.
Goofy indeed.
So you're saying this is a goofy movie, perhaps?
I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of Goofy within our podcast.
Well, if you're a Powerline fan, should you tune in?
You definitely
for sure,
should.
definitely.
Okay. It's not an extremely goofy movie. Then.
No.
Okay. just a modicum of goofy.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
People are gonna be really disappointed when it turns out where it's all about the Prince of the Pauper short.
You can follow our main Twitter account, twitter.com/AMPHorror. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube under Another Mishable Podcast, Horror Decomposed. Make sure to check out our website, anothermishablepodcast.com. You can find those Twitter and YouTube links there as well, and all the streaming sites that we are available on. And if you'd like, you can even stream the episode straight from our website as well. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, if you are an artist or a director, if you have something you'd like to promote, we'd love to feature your work. We'd love to interview you. We'd love to have you on the show. Or if you just have like a movie you'd like to recommend to us, any kind of discussion topics, something like that, please write us at anothermishablepodcast@gmail.com.
Send your hate mail there.
Yeah, send it there. Or if you want, you can send me a DM on Instagram or Twitter at Earth to Zach. That's Earth, the number 2 Zach. I promise I'm a nice guy. Unless you're weird, again, you know. No, I'm nice. I'm nice.
We're all weird.
Unless they're strange.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we end this? We're at like exactly an hour. We made really good time today.
Eat pizza.
And keep your independence.
Keep your independence.
Yeah.
Your independence. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
Later.